Yes, this is life. You got to change a bit. You got to make it, vava boom. Like baba boom. Like baba boom. I love shamanic journeys. I think it's so important to know what medicine, umuti. Umuti is medicine in Zulu. Medicine, umuti. So, you know what medicine you need to prescribe. See? Soul Dr. Tembe. Soul Dr. Tembe. I'm a soul doctor. Yeah, you need to know what medicine to prescribe for what. So today we're reading Day 46, Psychological Instruction. The mind's wisdom resistance. I have not turned my ear away from divine instruction. Divine instruction about your psychological patterns comes through therapists. Therapists' insights, friends' observations, and your own moments of self-awareness. But you turn away from psychological guidance because receiving it means acknowledging that your current coping strategies aren't working. You resist mental health instruction because changing psychological patterns feels like losing. Whoa. Losing the identity you've built around your struggles. Alex has been in therapy for 5 years but still suffers from anxiety and depression. His therapist consistently suggests he examine his perfectionism and his need for control. But Alex deflects by intellectualizing his symptoms or claiming his situation is too complex for standard therapeutic approaches. He turns away from psychological instruction that could heal his mental suffering because implementing it would mean releasing the perfectionism that feels like his only protection against chaos. Turning away from psychological instruction keeps you trapped in mental and emotional patterns that cause suffering while maintaining the illusion that you're working on your mental health. You resist guidance that could transform your psychological well-being because your ego is more invested in being psychologically complex than psychologically healthy. Embodiment practice. Recall psychological guidance you've received that you dismissed or avoided implementing. Feel where resistance to psychological instruction lives in your body. Often the head tightens, jaw clenches, or chest constricts when wisdom threatens psychological defense mechanisms. Say, I receive psychological wisdom that serves my mental and emotional well-being. Growth matters more than being right about my patterns. We all are here. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I don't know anybody who is just open to growth, full-on transformation and growth. Some of us, it takes us to crash out, to say, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm listening. Tell me again. Well, what were you saying? Tell me again. What were you saying? Okay, let's read. Divine instruction about your psychological patterns comes through therapist insights, friends' observations, and your own moments of self-awareness. Okay. Therapist insights, that would presuppose that you're going to a therapist, and that would presuppose that the therapist understands whatever situation you're dealing with. Okay. So for me, growing up in apartheid, I couldn't find a therapist in America who understood apartheid. I couldn't. I was going to Caucasian therapists. I had one Indian therapist, but most of my therapists were Caucasian. Okay. So really, they couldn't relate to anything I had lived through. They were like Googling, and then I had a therapist who said, I watched a movie about apartheid. It was so bad. I'm like, girl, I don't need to come to therapy for you to now start asking me how bad it was, and now you're feeling sorry for me. Okay? So that would presuppose that your therapist actually understands what you have lived through, which is very difficult for us to find therapists that have lived whatever situation you've lived through. Okay? That is presuppose you have a therapist who has a global understanding. Like, I can't go to therapy. Well, I should. No, I don't. I mean, I can go to therapy, but I mean, I've had so many experiences that I'm like most of the time thinking, okay, maybe that's a limiting belief that I could examine. But like, I'm thinking to myself, I've had so many experiences that are just so wild and bizarre. I think I would like sit in a therapist chair and they'll be like, huh? What now? What happened? What happened? Because I've just had some crazy experiences. So I don't know. You need to, when we find looking for therapists and finding therapists, it's like, sometimes, okay, let me bring it back. If you've had a lot of trauma, you need to find a therapist who understands the context of your trauma. The context of your trauma. That's why I think I kind of had a hard time when I was in America at the beginning of my therapy journey. When I was in college, my professor, I took quite a few classes with him, had understood the context of apartheid in South Africa because he had lived in South Africa as a missionary. So he understood it, but he couldn't be my therapist and my professor. So he referred me to a therapist. Okay, good. And he kind of like gave him the context of why I was coming to therapy. But then I outgrew that therapist and I went to other therapists, and other therapists had no context of what I had lived through in South Africa. Okay, great. So if you have been through war, you probably need to find a therapist who has lived through civil war themselves and was able to heal and understands the context. If you are a Caucasian person, if you're still going through the trauma, maybe you need to find a Caucasian person who understands. Because I swear to you, when I look at some like, I was having a conversation with my husband about this, and I'm just like, this is not a problem. We were having a tiff about something. And I said, this is not a problem. Why is this so hard? This is not a problem. And he's like, but I've experienced some really hard things. I'm like, this is not a problem. Okay, this is not a problem. Because I'm coming from the context of civil war. Having grown up in civil war, I'm kind of like tough. Okay? I'm like, this is not a problem. Why are we having a big deal about this? So if you haven't grown up in war, going to a therapist who's grown up in war could be a bit of a hard pill to swallow. Because they don't see anything that is hard for you as hard. It's like, come on, get strong now. But it's not, my husband said, it's not my fault that I didn't grow up in apartheid and I had to learn how to be hard. It's not my fault. True, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. But I think people could benefit from somebody who has a different perspective. because then they are not coddling you through this life experience. I don't know. So you need to find kind of a therapist that resonates with you. And please stop blaming therapists. Therapists are doing the best they can. Everybody has their own limitation. So do you have your own limitation, okay? Friends' observations. That would presuppose that your friends are actually doing the inner work, which I would say a lot of friends are not doing their own inner work. I had friends who were doing their own inner work. Like I had friends who were serious into their own growth and their own inner work. So I could take their advice. I could take the advice. I will not take advice from somebody who is not doing the inner work, who is not spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, physically growing. I don't care how much money you have. I don't. Because you know what? The law of impermanence is you are born and you die. Like you go up and you go down. And if you cannot handle yourself as you are collapsing and you are having a moment when you're going down, you are capable of anything. So sorry, not sorry. If you're not doing your own inner work, I don't care. I will not take advice from people who are not doing their own inner work. I have taken advice from this and it doesn't end very well. So now I don't care. I'm just like, I'll listen to my own self. Okay. And your own moments of self-awareness. I think your moments of self-awareness are the most powerful because this is your intuition. This is your soul communicating with you. But that would presuppose that you've done your own trauma work through a therapist or trauma person or, and you are growing spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. You're pushing through your own boundaries. Most of us are not doing this. This is why I created this book. Please buy the book, link below. Okay, so you can follow along with me. It would be even better if you buy the book in hard copy. Smell, sense of touch, taste. Well, you can't taste the book, I mean, you look the book. But sense of touch, sense of smell, sense of eyesight, sense of nose, okay? And go through the book, because then it's like even if you don't have therapy, you don't have a therapist, there are a lot of questions. There's a lot of insight into how to look at the situations you might be living through in life, how to look at your own life, and in the privacy of your own home, say, does this work for me? Does this not work for me? How can I evolve from this? I can promise you, in the past 2.5 weeks of doing this work, I'm like, wow, I'm really happy I started doing my live streams. Number one, I've grown in my live streams. They're more stable. I'm so happy about that. So I had to work through live streams not working, camera not working, this not working, and just be like, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. So I've grown, and I'm just like, I'm so proud of myself for that. And also just rewatching the live streams after I've done them and going, that could have been better. I could have said that better. But okay, not a big deal. I can keep getting better and better and better. So I am growing. And number 3, I am out talking to people. And I said, oh my God, I was in a shell for so long. And then when I started doing my live streams, I'm like, but this is how normal people communicate. They don't do a video and then communicate. No, they sit together and they communicate. So, okay, yeah, I should go and be around people and start talking to people. I'm just like, what? So I have grown. I have come out of my cocoon. I've come out of my shell. So you don't really know how you're going to grow by just going through this with me every single day, because it's about your growth. Because we're looking at all the areas of our life, And I've started trusting myself again. And I'm just like, but really trusting myself. And I'm just like, okay, I got this. So please buy the book. Buy it in hard copy. Okay, unless you're in a country where you can't get the book in hard copy and you can only get the book in Kindle. But buy the book. It's so good. You can even, write in a pencil. Okay. So, I digress. Okay. Divine instructions about your psychological patterns comes through therapist insight, friends' observation, and your own moments of self-awareness. Self-awareness is what we do, what we practice together, which is our mindfulness mentoring sessions. That's why I've designed the live stream this way. First kind of 30 minutes is for song, opening up the sacred space, and then reading, and then having a dialogue, discourse, and then mindfulness mentoring. Mindfulness mentoring session, which is the last 30 minutes of our live stream, is for self-awareness. Self-awareness. Okay? But you turn away from psychological guidance because receiving it means acknowledging that your current coping strategies aren't working. Nobody wants to feel wrong. So I acknowledge if you're like, okay, this is some bullshit. Nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody wants to be like, oh yeah, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong here. I need to change. It's difficult. Nobody wants that. I don't. But sometimes it's just like you get to a point where you're like, I can't live like this anymore. I've got to change. I noticed myself with this. 3 months ago, I started going to the library, and I just started walking to the library every day because I was like, I can't live like this. I've got to change. Something needs to change. But I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know what was needed to change. And I really didn't want to talk to anybody. I really didn't trust people. So I needed to first learn how to trust myself. So I started walking to the library, taking the train, walking to the library 2-3 times a week. And I would work at the library, just sit in the library, look at the books in the library. The space was so huge. It's so huge. It's such a beautiful library. And that inspired a program that I was going to do. So I pitched the program to the library. And there was a miscommunication, and they said to me, oh, please can you resend the proposal? First it was, oh yes, we would love this. And then after that, they're like, no, we don't understand. And I'm just like, oh my God, miscommunication. English between Thai. Okay, not a big deal. So they say to me, please submit the proposal, and then we will set up a time for you to teach this. Okay, I'm like, great. And then I was like, no. The reason I went to the library was to expand. Okay? Yes, to expand. So I'm like, okay. I came up with this idea while I was at the library because I was stuck sitting in the house. I was stuck. I couldn't think anymore. So going to the library helped me come up with this idea. I don't actually have to only share the idea at the library. I don't. I can teach what I want to teach, which is emotional intelligence through creativity online. And if I do that, I can have live streams because I would be teaching the class live at the library. It's not like I would be teaching the class with a video and then send them the video. No, I would be teaching live. So if I can teach it live to Thai people, why can't I just teach it live online? Oh, okay, I have a fear of live streams. But that's nonsense. I don't have a fear of talking to people. I've never had a fear of talking to people. Well, what's going on here? So I had to start unraveling my own BS. My own limiting thoughts. And this is how the live stream came about. And now I'm like, okay, so now I'm steady with my live streams. My audio doesn't crank out, it doesn't like flop all the time. My lighting is kind of perfect. Okay, so now I'm kind of steady with my live streams. So now I can start marketing my live streams and getting more people to come and watch. Okay, great. So it's always a progression. So if you give yourself time to question, what is the fear? The fear was, I'm afraid of live streams because I don't know if I'll have something to say. I used to run 4-hour workshops in the US. 4-hour workshops in the US. Since when am I afraid of talking? It makes no sense. But after you've experienced grief, you have gone through depression, or you are still in depression, or you have gone through anxiety, or you have lost someone you love through death or a heartbreak, breakup, or something like this, your brain gets all kind of scrambled and you start having irrational fears that make no sense. Irrational fears that make no sense. I'm like, this is stupid. But until I got out of the house and went to the library and started expanding my mind, the capacity for my brain to hold a new thought, new ideas couldn't come through. I've been wanting to teach this for so long, but I was like, no, I need people to be in my audience so that I can teach, because this is what I used to do before. I used to teach 4-hour workshops. Now I don't have anybody to teach. No, not really. I have the internet. I can just do my thing. How I used to do before I went into a depression, before I had a, full-on shamanic experience. So most of our fears, most of our thoughts, most of our psychological dramas are like not even real. If you literally sat down and questioned yourself, you would realize that most of the things you fear, most of the thoughts that go on in your head are just illusions, delusions, lies, and confusions. And we make these things up ourselves. Okay, I am not negating mental illness. Truly, I'm not negating mental illness. But most of these mental health issues that we have are just lies. I'm sharing with you as I am teaching you. Then listen, I was sitting here in this apartment, and apartments are small. So your thinking becomes small. When you decide to get outside, that's why in the first 30 minutes, I took us to the ocean. Because the ocean is so vast. The ocean is so vast. When you look into the horizon of the ocean, you can see where it ends. So it's about opening your ability to see beyond the walls that you are in. Because especially when you're going through depression, because I came out of a deep depression. Suicide is just not my thing. But there were times where I was just like, whoa, man, the suicidal thoughts were just insane. They were just insane. Especially at night, I would just get so many suicidal thoughts. And I'm like, but this is not me. I am not a suicidal person. I've never entertained suicidal thoughts. What is going on here? And I used to just sit like this. And it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun to be in a depression. But I come from a country where depression is like prevalent. Okay, South Africa is like number one, like I think number 2 or number 3 for depression in the world. And then you go to America. America loves their depressions. It's depressed? Cymbalta can help. So I went from a country of civil war, depression, to America, depression. Americans and their depressions, they love their depression. I gotta tell you, y'all people, y'all love your depression and your pills for depression. Depressed? Cymbalta can help. Okay. In South Africa, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as depression and medication for depression. People just drink and go to church and pray away these things. They said you had demons when you had depression. So people just drink and start dancing and, or they go to church and shake their church and hallelujah and pray for 5 hours. And then they feel better. And then, you kind of carry on with your life. But in America, you take pills. And you sit there and talk about your depressions I think there is a way, okay, it's not bad. Look, I've tried the American therapy thing. It's good. It really helps. But then there's a point where you've just got to move your body. There's a point where it's like you've got to do something to get yourself out of this box. Because depression is kind of like you are in a dark box, very dark box. Your view of life is very limited. Your perspective of life is very limited. Everything is doom and gloom. It's not working. Everything is just bad. Like, it's just bad. I was like, okay, I lived that. The sun really helped. When I lived on an island, just waking up every morning and just like getting sun on my skin, going to the ocean and walking and putting my feet on the ocean floor and just dipping into the ocean. This is why I encouraged us to do the shamanic journey, where we just went into the vastness of the ocean. People who are depressed do not take showers. This is what I've noticed. Okay? Y'all don't take showers. Because when I was depressed, I didn't want to take showers either. So this is why I had us dip into the ocean and let the ocean wash away all of the like emotions and the memories that made us feel sad, so that we could balance our emotions. If you practice that shamanic journey, maybe for 42 days, 44 days, and you just practice it every day. Anytime you have like time, like for lunch, it was like 20 minutes, right? Practice that. You will feel so much better. It will inspire you to go to the ocean and dip in the waters. And you will feel so refreshed. But people are afraid of going to the ocean. I don't understand why people are afraid of going to the ocean. It makes no sense. People are afraid of going out into nature, but yet you will spend so many hours at the mall. It makes no sense. Nature is a healer. Nature is the ultimate healer because you live here on planet Earth. So how can nature not heal you? Even the depression medication, the anxiety medication, the pills that we take are inherently from nature. Right? Right. Vitamin D from the sun is the ultimate healer. Just sit outside and get some vitamin D. You feel so much better. So much better. Okay, so that's why I started with that shamanic journey. And then told you about my story that when I needed to change and just to come and have these live streams, it took me 3 months going to the library, 2 months going to the library. And then I had the idea, and then I had to build the self-confidence to sit here and teach this stuff. So there is a process to growth. There is a process to change. It's a process, right? There is a process. Now I'm like meeting people and having coffees with people. And I'm like, whoa. If you said this to me just 3 months ago, 5 months ago, I was like, I hate people. I hate the human race. So I kind of had to change my own limiting beliefs. I don't hate the human race. I just choose not to deal with awful human beings. That's a difference. You know what I mean? Okay, great. So look at your own limiting beliefs. Moral of the story. Okay, so Alex has been in therapy for 5 years, but still suffers from anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression are the big things at the moment. Everybody is anxiety and depressed, okay? Depression is the kind of box feeling, darkness, everything is just dark. Anxiety, you're just so afraid of the future. Yes, there is a lot of uncertainty. There is a lot of uncertainty. How could we not be depressed and anxious? How can we not? It's just part of like the human experience, I think, right now. So give yourself a break. Okay? You're not going to be fully like peak performance every single day of your life. There are going to be moments where you just are just like, I've had enough. I've had enough. I just need to figure out what's going on here, and I need to take care of myself. This was me 3.5 years ago. I said, I cannot keep working this way. I cannot be here in America anymore. I was having a serious spiritual awakening, and I was like, I need to regulate my nervous system. I need to get back to coherency. I am not at my best. I could keep working. I could keep everything that I have in place, but I'm not at my peak. What is next? You don't know what's next when you don't stop and say enough. You could literally unalive yourself. And I think this is why people are so edgy. This is why people are so angry. This is why people are like, there's so much cancer and there's so many other illnesses. It's because we are just overstimulated. We are exhausted. We are traumatized. We haven't even fully grieved COVID. We haven't. If maybe 1 million people can tell me that I sat down and I grieved COVID, I'm like, oh, wow, there's hope for humanity. But I can tell you that not 1 million people on this planet have grieved COVID. We all lost someone during COVID. We all lost either our businesses, our financial situation went a little wonky. Our sense of freedom was completely taken away. That created some kind of shock to the system. And then we just went back to normal life. And other things started happening in our lives. We started realizing, climate anxiety, the systems are not working out so well. So tell me, who has fully grieved COVID? So of course anxiety is going to be on the rise. Of course a lot of people are going to be depressed. But that does not mean that you just sit there and say, but if everybody's depressed and everybody's filled with anxiety, this is my thing. No, it's not your thing. You can work through it. I've given you a practice, the shamanic journey that we did at the beginning. And we'll do something else. Okay. So Alex has been in therapy for 5 years, but still suffers from anxiety and depression. His therapist consistently suggests he examine his perfectionism and need for control. But Alex deflects by intellectualizing his symptoms or claiming his situation is too complex for standard therapeutic approaches. Perfectionism is a fear of failure. I just shared with you that when I started off this live stream, oh my goodness, like my microphone wasn't working. Sometimes I had a LUT that looked so awful. I had so many challenges when I was starting off this live stream. Now I think I'm kind of coasting now. It's kind of like better. Sometimes I need to kind of check my microphone, but it's coming together, because I'm consistent doing one thing. You can get better. But perfectionism is a fear of failure. Somebody told you sometime in your life that you have to be perfect. Okay, I'm sorry. What is perfect in this world? You can look at 2 flowers and you can see the perfection in both flowers, and they are totally different. There's no such thing as perfection. When you're going for perfection, it's because maybe you're afraid people are going to laugh at you when you're trying and you're starting something new. But if you don't start, you're never going to get anywhere. But in America, perfectionism is a thing. It is a thing. I experienced it. I had a lot of perfection anxiety. And I thought to myself, you know what? In Africa, I never had these perfection anxiety things. But in America, I had perfection anxiety because everything had to be the perfect LUT. Everything. I said, oh my God, this is too much. When I lived on an island, there was no perfectionism on the island. Today, there's this restaurant. 2 months later, the restaurant is gone. There's a new restaurant. And people just like put up businesses in 2 weeks. And then if it fails, the business is gone. The person leaves the island. I learned a lot by living on an island, a hippie island. No perfectionism. Just try. Do whatever. And try. See if it works. And if it doesn't work, it fails. Okay, whatever. You can start again. I live with an American who is very perfectionist. And I'm just like, thank God I never grew up in America. Because it's like, okay, if it craps out, it craps out. I can try again. I'm not afraid of making mistakes. But I found in the American culture, mistakes are a thing. They are so afraid of making mistakes. And I'm just like, wow, that must be really hard on the psyche to be so afraid of growth, to be so afraid of making mistakes. For me as an African, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. It's like, you try again. Try again. I don't know. But this is why it's beautiful to have friends from other countries. Because they bring a different perspective. Okay. He turns away from psychological instructions that could heal his mental suffering because implementing it would mean releasing the perfectionism that feels like his only protection against chaos. Right? So let's go back to my example of starting these live streams. It was kind of chaotic for the first 2 weeks. Really, it was. Because I was like, oh my God, I have to learn this. I have to learn this. I have to learn this. And sometimes it would work. Sometimes it wouldn't work. I was like, oh my God. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. We are afraid of looking stupid. This is the plight of humans. We are afraid of making mistakes. We are afraid of looking stupid. We are afraid of being wrong. So then we get stuck. When I was in America, I was a coach, right? And I was just like, let's coach other people because I was afraid of making mistakes because I was like, oh my God, I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect. In America, everything has to be perfect. So I just became a coach and like, let's make other people perfect. And then here in Thailand, I started dancing. I started, just being a child again. And I said, oh, I've been missing out on this growth thing. I was growing because I was growing a consulting firm. But honestly, I don't think I was growing personally. And then when I got onto the island, I just started dancing. I was growing in my creativity. I was doing so many fun things. And then I said, I need to grow. So maybe not coach people anymore, but just grow myself. Just grow. Okay? But in growth, there is chaos. In growth, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. During the process of growth and transformation, you are going to get it so wrong. It's going to look like a total flop, but you must keep going. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Better and better. Better and better. I'm telling you, 18 months from now, this is going to be popping. Because I speak my word and it is law. Because I also know that everybody's struggling from depression and anxiety and a fear of perfection and perfectionism. So I got the market cornered. And I'm cute to look at, number one. Number two, I'm very animated. So, like one woman mental health show, that's fun. Okay? And you can just buy a book and go through your mental health. Okay? Really? Okay. It's popping. It's popping. Thanks, Cardi P. It's popping. Now I'm saying. Okay. Turning away from psychological instruction keeps you trapped in mental and emotional patterns that create suffering while maintaining the illusion that you're working on your mental health. Okay? You resist guidance that could transform your psychological well-being because your ego is more invested in being psychologically complex than psychologically healthy. Oh my goodness. Just 2 months ago, I was not psychologically healthy. I started my live streams. I am so psychologically getting better. Is that even proper English? I don't know. I don't care. But I'm so psychologically getting better. Because I just decided I don't really care. I'm just going to try what I want to try. And I'm going to teach what I want to teach. And I'm not going to wait for an audience that is paying me to teach what I want to teach. I've always been a teacher. I used to facilitate workshops in the US, coach people. So I'm sorry, what's the problem now? This is the kind of conversation I was having with myself. I'm like, when did you become this now? Where you're just waiting for life to happen? No, you happen to life. You happen to life. You do your live streams. And then they will come along. Eventually they will come along because you get the confidence to start marketing this. Because you've always done this. You know how to do this. So what's your problem now? I had to have this kind of conversation with myself. I've been trying to have this kind of conversation with my husband. And he says I'm hurting his feelings. But this is how I used to coach people. It was really hard. And now that I'm back coaching again, I'm really tough. I'm a very tough coach. And okay, some people can handle it, some people can't handle it. But I've had to be this tough with myself because I was spinning. I was in such mental loops. A lot of us are in mental loops because a lot of us have not grieved. We haven't grieved. A lot of us don't cry. A lot of us are so emotionally stunted. And yet we're trying to be perfect. Huh? It makes no sense. Okay. But you see, you come to Teacher Tembi, we can laugh about these things. It's not really a big deal. We can just laugh about these things. Okay. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being like emotionally stunted. There's nothing wrong with being like emotionally, complex at times. I was this. I spent 3.5, well, I lied, not 3.5 years. I spent like 3 years in depression, like serious depression. I don't know why people are ashamed of their depressions and their anxieties. What do you get out of the shame? Nothing. You're going to commit suicide because you are hiding the fact that you're depressed. So what if people laugh at you? These are stupid dum-dums. If you're going to laugh at somebody who's going through a mental health challenge or a mental health crisis, you're a dumb fucking ass. You're a dumb person. Because, when people are struggling with depression, when people are struggling with anxiety, when people are struggling with some kind of mental illness, they need support more than anything else. Sometimes it's just being there. Do not try to therapy them. Do not try to motivate them. Do not try to question them. Just somebody knowing that, wow, there's someone there for me. Thank God for my husband. Thank God. Because I've been through depressive states alone when my parents didn't even care. These people. Yes, my family didn't even care. They didn't want to know. But thank God this time I had my husband with me. So if you're alone going through depression and you're going through some kind of like mental, struggle, emotional struggle, psychological struggle, loneliness, reach out to someone. But in America, everybody's struggling with their own issues. So it's even hard to reach out to someone. That's why Americans go to therapy so much. In Africa, people go to church. I don't know if these churches help them. I think they give you kind of like those kind of motivation for, it's like a hit, bam, bam, like a drug, a hit Sunday, and then Wednesday you're back to church again. Because it really doesn't help. You need proper help to work through the issue, to like literally work through to the root cause of your problem. And for me, the root cause of my problem was that I just forgotten how to talk to people. And then when I started reminding myself, I was like, I used to run 4-hour workshops. I used to run full-day workshops. What the frick? And then once I got the idea of what I wanted to do, and then presented it and pitched it to the Thai Design Institute, something like this, and they're like, lost in translation, communication problems. I said, okay, I know how to market. So we're not speaking the same language. Okay, let me go do it myself first and get good at this, and not wait for people to approve what I want to teach. Eventually I'll go back to the library and pitch it again, because now I'm better at what I'm doing. So sometimes it's just getting to the root cause. And when you get to the root cause of what's causing your depression, it is usually perfectionism. It is usually a fear of failure. It's usually some kind of erroneous fear that is keeping you in a box. And this box will make you have doubtful thoughts. You will have overthinking. You will have fearful thoughts. And it will get darker and darker and darker. And you'll feel, your self-esteem will go lower and lower and lower and lower. It'll be a nightmare. How do you know? How do you think I know this? Because I lived it. I couldn't even laugh. Like, oh my God, 5 months ago, I was not laughing. I was deep in these garbages of depression and all of these things. I'm out of that now. Hopeful Tembi, doubting Thomas is gone. Yes, doubtful Tembi is gone. Okay, so you resist guidance that could transform your psychological well-being because your ego is more invested in being psychologically complex than psychologically healthy. You don't even know that you're psychologically complex. Most of us don't know this because you are in your own head. True. You are in your own head. It's just Thank God I have a lot of training in this, and I coached a lot of people for many, many years. So then I had to kind of like talk myself out of it because, like, honestly, my husband is not a therapist. Okay, so he couldn't even coach me out of this. And I don't know any therapists here in Thailand. Okay. So I had to coach myself out of my own hell, out of my own box, out of my own depression, because I'm just amazing like that. It's because I'm a shaman. But that's why now I'm here coaching you. Okay, so embodiment practice. Recall psychological guidance you've received, you dismissed, or avoided implementing. Feel where resistance to psychological instruction lives in your body. Okay, we're going to do body awareness, mindfulness mentoring session. Often the head, the jaw, or the chest, it can be somewhere else too, right? When wisdom threatens psychological defense mechanisms. Say, I receive psychological wisdom that serves my mental and emotional well-being. Growth matters more than being right about my patterns. Yes, that's why I love reading. Because for me, reading has been the way I have helped myself when I didn't have money to go to therapy. Way back there in South Africa. Even in America, when I first got to America, okay, I wasn't going to therapy because I didn't know which therapist and how to work the system until I started going to college. And then when I started taking my psychology classes, I was like, yo, this is amazing. This is amazing. And I kind of worked my way around the system and found some really good therapists and stuff like this. That's why I can help you now. But like, that was good for me because when I was in my deep depression and I was not in America and had no access to therapy, I had to therapy myself and get out of depression and all of these things. Now I'm building self-esteem. Self-esteem. There's no way you can build self-esteem without doing something. I learned this from Caroline Mays. I bought a book. No, I got it at the library. There was a book, a course that it was like an audio book that I got from the library. And she said, self-esteem is a verb. I said, never heard that before. Self-esteem is a verb. Caroline Mays, she's an author. And I have always remembered, that was the one thing I remembered from that book. Self-esteem is a verb. So I said, okay, I need to build self-esteem. I want to teach this class to the Thai people there. And, why not just teach it online? I'm not going to wait for the Design Institute to tell me, yes, come and teach this on, mental health and creativity. I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to teach it online. And then I'm going to market it eventually online. And maybe then I will go teach it there at the Design Institute. Creativity and mental health. Okay. Mental well-being. But I needed to build my self-esteem first. Because you are going to get rejected. Yes, you will pitch something and they'll say, no, it doesn't work. But usually maybe just lost in translation, communication issues. Okay. Or you need to tweak something. Don't give up. Okay. Just tweak it. Build your self-esteem and resubmit. You never know. You never know where you'll go in life. It's perfectionism. These are the troubles. That's why we become depressed, because we're trying to be perfect and we're afraid that people are going to laugh at us. And okay, usually the people that are laughing at you are stupid, number one, because they are not growing themselves. Okay, because honestly, when you start to transform, when you're committed to growth, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have so many failures. It's okay. Continue growing. Leave these dum-dums there. Just leave them there. Yes, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. I think that's why Americans have so many mental health issues, truly. Because y'all need to have it all perfect. Nothing is perfect. Just keep going and you can always make it better. Always make it better. I'm just saying. As an American. How was that? Interesting. And don't be ashamed of your depressions and your anxiety. And if anybody stigmatizes you, laughs at you, makes fun of you, let me tell you something. These garbages, they are stupid garbages. Okay? Anybody, I don't care that, oh, mental health is stigmatized. You are a dumb garbage. If you make fun of someone else who is going through a health challenge, you are a dumb garbage. You are rot. Because you don't know how fragile that person is. That person could commit suicide. So I have no tolerance for people who make fun of people, who bully people while they're going through. I will bully you. And usually these ones that are making fun of other people through mental health are the most weakest ones. They are the weakest ones. That one I will go to war for. You don't make fun of people who are going through a mental health challenge. You don't. I don't know who gave birth to you. What rot of a mother gave birth to you? Garbage souls. So, if you're going through your own mental health challenges, reach out for help. And if you don't have the money to go to therapy, you can come sit here with me. We'll therapy each other here. You'll feel better because I'm all about growth. I'm not about sitting here talking, and how does it make you feel? This stuff does not work. Honestly, it does not work. But I share with you how I even got here. My own growth. Okay. So I think today, perfectionism. Okay, let's do something nice.